Hi, my name is Daniela from Langmaster Learning System. Today, let's practice listening through a very well-known story about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I believe you will enjoy this very much. So, let's start. Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. For one thing, he hated the summer holidays more than anything. He really wanted to do his homework, but was forced to do it in secret, in the dead of night. And he also happened to be a wizard. It was nearly midnight, and he was laying on his stomach in bed, the blankets drawn right over his head like a tent, a flashlight in one hand, and a large leather-bound book, A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot. Harry moved the tip of his eagle-feathered quill down the page. He looked for something that would help him finish his essay. Which burning in the 14th century was completely pointless. Discuss. The quill paused at this paragraph. Harry pushed his round glasses up the bridge of his nose and moved his flashlight closer to the book and read. Non-magic people, more commonly known as muggles, were particularly afraid of magic in medieval times, but not very good at recognizing it. On the rare occasion that they did catch a real witch or wizard, burning had no effect whatsoever. The witch or wizard would perform a basic flame-freezing charm and then pretend to shriek with pain while enjoying a comfortable sensation. Indeed, Gwendolyn the Weird enjoyed being burnt so much that she allowed herself to be caught no less than 47 times in various disguises. Harry unscrewed the ink bottle, dipped his quill into it, and began to write, pausing every now and then to listen, because if any of the Dursleys heard the scratching of his quill, he'd probably find himself locked in the cupboard under the stairs for the rest of the summer. Harry lived with a family. They were muggles, and they really boycotted the magic. Harry was particularly keen to avoid trouble with his aunt and uncle at the moment, as they were already in an especially bad mood with him, all because he'd received a telephone call from a fellow wizard from the magic school. Harry, though, still rather small and skinny for his age, had grown a few inches over the last year. His jet black hair, however, was just as it had always been, stubbornly untidy, whatever he did to it. The eyes behind his glasses were bright green, and on his forehead, clearly visible through his hair, was a thin scar shaped like a bolt of lightning. Of the unusual things about Harry, the scar was the most extraordinary of all. The story about how the scar, well, the Dursleys had pretended for 10 years. They said it was a souvenir of the car crash that had killed Harry's parents. However, The reason leading to their deaths was because of Lord Voldemort. Harry had escaped from the same attack with nothing more than a scar on his forehead. One day, Harry got into a fight with his aunt and uncle and decided to leave the house. Then, suddenly a gigantic pair of wheels and headlights screeched to a halt exactly where Harry had just stood. This was a purple bus, which had appeared out of thin air. Gold lettering over the windshield spelled "The Knight's Bus." For a split second, Harry wondered if he had been knocked silly. Then a man showed up. "Welcome to the night bus, emergency transport for the stranded witch or wizard. Just stick out your wand hand, step on board, and we can take you anywhere you want to go. My name is Stan Schnumpkin." The conductor stopped abruptly. He then just caught sight of Harry, who was still sitting on the ground. "What were you doing down there?" said Stan, dropping his probe. "Fell over," said Harry. "You fell over?" sniggered Stan. "I didn't do it on purpose," said Harry, annoyed. One of the knees in his jeans was torn, and the hand he had thrown out to break his fall was bleeding. "You looking at?" said Stan. "There was a big black thing," said Harry, pointing uncertainly into the gap. "Like a dog, but massive." He looked around at Stan, whose mouth was slightly open. With a feeling of unease, Harry saw Stan's eyes move to the scar on Harry's forehead. "Was that on your head?" said Stan abruptly. "Nothing," said Harry quickly, flattening his hair over the scar. "Was your name?" Stan persisted. "Neville Longbottom," said Harry, saying the very first name that came into his head. So this bus," he went on quickly, hoping to distract Stan. "Did you say it goes anywhere?" "Yep," said Stan proudly. "Anywhere you like. Long, it's on land. Can't do nothing underwater," he said. Harry rummaged once more in his trunk, extracted his money bag, and shoved some into Stan's hand. The bus started running. While reading the newspaper, Harry saw a sunken-faced man with long, matted hair blinked slowly at Harry from the front page. He looked strangely familiar. "That man!" Harry said, forgetting his troubles for a moment. "He was on the Muggle News." Stanley turned to the front page and chuckled. "Sirius Black," he said, nodding. "Of course he was on the Muggle News. Neville, where have you been?" He gave a superior sort of chuckle at the blank look on Harry. "You ought to read the newspaper more, Neville." Harry held up the paper to the candlelight and read, "Sirius Black, possibly the most infamous prisoner ever to be taken to the Azkaban fortress, is still eluding capture. The Ministry of Magic confirmed today. We are doing all we can to recapture Black," said the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge. "And We beg the magical community to remain calm. Stan said, Black is mad. He is a danger to anyone. While muggles have been told that Black is carrying a gun, a kind of metal wand that muggles use to kill each other. The magical community lives in fear of a masquerade like that of 12 years ago, when Black murdered 13 people with a single curse. Harry looked into the shadow eyes of Sirius Black, the only part of the sunken face that seemed alive. Harry had never met a vampire, but had seen pictures of them in his defense against the dark arts classes, and Black, with his waxy white skin, looked just like one. Scary looking thing, innit? Said Stan, who had been watching Harry read. He murdered 13 people? Said Harry, handing the page back to Stan. With one curse? Yep, said Stan, in front of witnesses and all, broad daylight. Black was a big supporter of, he said. What? Voldemort? Said Harry without thinking. Yeah, said Stan, still rubbing his chest. Yeah, that's right. Very close to,
And this is the end of the first chapter. Have you enjoyed listening to the story? If you want to hear more stories, please share it with me by leaving some comments in the comment box below and some suggestions. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time. Goodbye.